Good evening and welcome to the Monday, April 25th, 2022 meeting of the Millis Select Board. We have with us tonight Aaron Underhill, who is our vice chair, Craig Schultz, the clerk, myself, Pete Germain, chair, Mike Guzinski, our town administrator, and Karen Beret-DeMarzo, our director of operations. So we're going to move on immediately to some of the scheduled appointments and hearings, and the first one is the Building Safety Month proclamation. And perhaps Mr. Giampetro, our building inspector, will give us an introduction, and then we'll read the proclamation.
Good evening. The ICC has proclaimed that the month of May is Building Safety Month, and every city and town throughout the whole country is urged to follow the safety protocols and, have a proclamation that everyone pays specific attention to important building codes, plumbing and electrical codes. So I've submitted a proclamation for the selectmen to review, and then after that, we can just go over some safety tips to keep in mind during the month and what to look for.
You ready? All right. First off, this is 2 pages, so just hold on. All right. Building Safety Month, May 2022. Whereas the town of Millis is committed to recognize that our growth and strength depends on the safety and essential role our homes, buildings, and infrastructure play both in everyday life and when disaster strikes. And whereas our confidence in the resilience of these buildings that make up our community is achieved through the devotion of vigilant guardians, building safety and fire prevention officials, architects, engineers, builders, tradespeople, design professionals, laborers, plumbers, and others in the construction industry who work year-round to ensure the safe construction of buildings. And whereas these guardians are dedicated members of the International Code Council, a nonprofit that brings together local, state, territorial, tribal, and federal officials who are the experts in the built environment to create and implement the highest quality codes to protect us in the buildings where we live, learn, work, and play. And whereas these modern building codes include safeguards to protect the public from hazards such as hurricanes, snowstorms, tornadoes, wildfires, floods, and earthquakes. And whereas Building Safety Month is sponsored by the International Code Council to remind the public about the critical role of our community's largely unknown protectors of public safety and our local code officials who assure us of safe, sustainable, and affordable buildings that are essential to our prosperity. And whereas Safety for All, Building Codes in Action, the theme of the Building Safety Month 2022, encourage us all to raise awareness about planning for safe and sustainable construction, career opportunities in building safety, understanding disaster mitigation, energy conservation, and creating a safe and abundant water supply for all our benefit. And whereas each year in observance of the Building Safety Month, people all over the world are asked to consider the commitment to implement building safety, resilience, and economic investments at home and in the communities, and to acknowledge the essential service provided to all of us by local and state building departments, fire prevention bureaus, and federal agencies in protecting lives and property. Now, therefore, we, the Select Board of the Town of Millis, do hereby proclaim the month of May 2022 as Building Safety Month. Accordingly, we encourage our citizens to join us as we participate in the Building Safety Month program. Sincerely, and it's signed by all of us on this day, so we'll be signing this after the meeting. Okay.
Thank
Good
you,
job,
Craig.
Thank you.
Took me all day to write that.
Yeah, it was nicely written.
Clearly.
You left out electricians, though. You got plumbers and
Yeah.
tradesmen.
Well, a few things we should all be aware of during, Building Safety Month. One of the most important things is your smoke alarms in your house. You want to make sure that it's a good month to go through them all, test them, make sure they work. Smoke alarms are only good for 10 years, so you want to check the date. Every smoke detector has the date in which they came into production. Change the batteries every year. and, make an escape plan for everyone in the house. So if something does happen, everybody knows how to get out of the house in a hurry and get outside safely. So that's very important that you do that every year, and just make sure all your smokes are working, and you have a good evacuation route. Building permits, electrical permits, plumbing permits. Don't forget that any work that you do throughout the year always requires a permit. If you're unsure if you need a permit, you can call our office. We'll be more than happy to help you out, whether a permit's required or not. But it's essential that permits are obtained so that the inspectors can come out there and ensure that the job was done according to the code and done safely, right? Now that the warm weather's coming, pools. Pools is a big issue every year. Any pool in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts that can retain 24 inches of water or more requires a building permit and an electrical permit. And also our fence regulations are different in Massachusetts than they are in Millis than they are in the rest of the state. Some cities and towns have their own height regulations around pools. We have a bylaw that requires 5-foot fence around pools. So even though if you buy a pool like a Walmart, one of those blow-up pools, it requires a 5-foot fence, self-closing, self-latching gate, it requires a building permit, it requires an electrical permit, and, it's to your benefit to go through all this, or to call the office before you buy something, right? And something happens where now you have a big problem. So just, you try to do things the right way, so prevents any kind of problems from happening down the future. Do not fill the pools until fill it with water until you've gone through and had all your inspections as well. A lot of people, they get permits to put in a pool right away. As soon as the pool's up, they fill it with water, and they don't have the fence around it. And electrical inspector hasn't gone there to do the inspection. So never fill the pool unless you have your barrier and all your inspections done. So every year, there's always issues for pools, and I know that with the hot weather coming, that'll be an issue. So keep that in mind. We go back to permits. For residential work, if you want to put up a shed, a lot of people call up for sheds. This is the time of year they start doing that. You can put up an accessory shed up to 200 square feet without a building permit. So, but it does require zoning verification. You have to be 10 feet from your rear lot line, 10 feet from your side lot line. You can't have it in the front yard setback. So if you want to put up a shed and you're unsure whether you need a permit, call me. Call the building department. We'll be more than happy to help you. And fences. Fences are a big thing as well. So before this last code, the 9th edition, fences were 6 feet high. You needed a permit if it was over 6 feet. But the 9th edition changed it to 7 feet. So we have a lot of issues with fences when people are putting them up. The neighbors are calling. So if there's a fence that's 7 feet high or higher, then you need a building permit. So the building permit comes into effect, then you have to meet zoning setbacks. So if you want to put it closer than the required 10 feet, then you can apply for variance at the zoning board of appeals to put it closer to the lot line. But there's a process for all that stuff, and it's always been, better to be safe than sorry. Give us a call. If we're not there, leave your name and number, send me an email. The email's on the website, and I'll get back to you as soon as I get time and back in the office. We had a lot of projects going on around town, as you know. Building department's been very busy, and try to get to everybody as fast as we possibly can, right? Another thing you want to check is your electrical cords. One thing not to do is use the cord strips, use extension cords around the house, right? Make sure that you eliminate those, because they can turn into a fire problem. Also, if you see appliances with damaged cords, right? If there's a rip in the cord or something like that, get it fixed. Only takes one little spark to cause a disaster. And, 24 years of doing this, when I'm going out to a house at 2 o'clock in the morning over something that could have been prevented and the damage that it causes, it's, you know, it's something simple that you just look at once a year and check these things out. It can sure help in mitigating any issues down the road. So, like I say, good month to go through your whole house, check things out. If you have any questions or you need any assistance, give me a call at the building department, and we can see if we can help you out. Okay,
Thank you, Mike.
thank you.
Are there any questions on the board? Anyone in the audience? Comments, questions? Thank you very much.
Thank
I
you.
don't think we need to
Have a
take
good
a
night.
vote on this, do we? To-
Yeah, you
Proclamation.
should
Okay.
take a vote.
Proclamation, just to approve the.
I move that we approve the proclamation for Building Safety Month.
Second, do you want me to read it again into the record?
We'd like a summary, Craig. Moved and seconded for the Building Safety Month proclamation to be approved. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very
I'll
much.
try to shorten it up next year.
Great. Next, we have the appointment of a part-time dispatcher, and for that, I'm going to call up Chief Sapphire.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. I'm coming before the board for my quarterly part-time dispatch appointments. I feel like I'm here all the time. We have a candidate. He's been employed by Massachusetts Department of Corrections since 2008 as a corrections officer. Currently, he works out of Milford at DOC headquarters. He has a vast amount of computer background, which is great for the position of dispatch. He lives in Holliston, and currently he works days over in Milford, and our need is eves and midnights. With summer approaching quickly, it's important that our full-time officers get their time off that they put in for. This appointment of the part-time dispatcher, again, has no impact to the town of Millis. It's funded through the 911 state grant, training grant. So the grant covers all the training, and once he completes the training, he can begin working shifts. So I respectfully ask that you consider the appointment of Sean F. Cullen as a part-time dispatcher, appointment pending a successful physical and drug screen.
Mr. Kaczynski.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Upon the recommendation of the police chief, I am requesting that the board ratify my appointment of Sean F. Cullen as a part-time dispatcher for the Millis Police Department.
Any comments on the board?
I'll make a motion that we ratify the town administrator's appointment of Sean F. Cullen as a part-time dispatcher,
Pending.
pending the required screenings.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to recommend the town administrator's appointment of Sean F. Cullen as a as a part-time dispatcher. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Chief. Okay. Next item on the agenda is the appointment of a substitute library assistant. Is Kim
No,
Olson
she's
here?
not going to handle that this
Okay,
evening, Mr.
Mr.
Chairman.
Kaczynski.
So in speaking with the library director, she did have a number of on-call library assistant positions to fill. However, in my discussions with her, we believe this is at least the last one at this time to round out the roster. And so with that, I am, and upon the recommendation of the library director, I am requesting that the board vote to ratify my appointment of Elizabeth Goudreau to the position of on-call library assistant for the Millis Public Library.
Thank you very much.
And that would be subject to a quarterly physical.
Corey and physical. Okay.
Okay, I move that we approve the town administrator's appointment of Elizabeth Goudreau, pending a query and physical.
Second?
It's moved and seconded to ratify the town administrator, to approve town administrator's ratification of Elizabeth Goudreau as an on-call appointment of the library assistant pending physical inquiry. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Okay. Excuse. I apologize. Next, we have the appointment of a temporary DPW heavy equipment laborer, and I'll ask Mr. McKay to please come up and
Thank you,
discuss
Mr.
that.
Chairman. So, I'd like to report that, if anybody's listening, we do have 3 open positions at the DPW, 2 of them being for heavy equipment operators, both of them Tuesday through Saturday. And we have a department assistant also open, and that's for 25 hours. The other 2 are benefited positions, and they're full-time positions. It's very tough to get these positions filled. Some of them have been years. I mean, one of them's been almost a year that we've not been able to fill the position. So with that said, we still need to, when you're down 1, you can work around it. When you're down 2, it's starting to affect, the daily operations. So we've done this in the past, and I think other departments also do it. On the personnel plan, we do have it's a licensed contractor for snow plowing. So in interim, we've hired people in the same way to do different types of work during to fill in these positions. In this one, the person will be working at the transfer station on Wednesdays and Saturdays, just while it's open, and until we fill that position. And that will definitely help out, the staff, so that they can go out and do other stuff. The funds are there because the person that has vacated that position, so we're going to use those funds to pay this person for it. I am asking that Mark Robbins of 58 Walnut Street, Mark's been working for us at the transfer station as a senior work-off for the past couple of years, and he's also been a snowplow operator for us. So he's gone through his physicals, his background checks, query checks, and everything else. So he's all set to go with this appointment. I did give you a copy of his application, and I think most of you know Mark, because you go to the transfer station, you see him here. He's been there working and he knows what he's doing. He's very eager to keep the station clean, and I think he'll probably do just as good, if not better, of a job than of anybody. So I would ask that the town administrator would be able to appoint Mark Robbins as a contracted employee. It's not a benefited, there's no benefits with this position whatsoever. So that's why we state it as a contracted employee under the personnel plan, in the amount of $23.74 an hour. And I would ask that Mark Robbins of 58 Walnut Street be appointed to that position.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, upon the recommendation of the Director of the Department of Public Works, requesting that the board ratify my temporary appointment of Mark Robbins to the contracted position of heavy equipment laborer for the transfer station.
I'll ask if there are any comments, questions.
No.
Take a motion.
I move that we ratify the town administrator's appointment of Mark Robbins as a temporary DPW heavy equipment laborer. Sorry,
Second.
there was no
You-
question mark there.
You paused like you're going to add.
Yeah, I
so-
know, I did.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded to ratify the appointment of Mark Robbins as the heavy equipment laborer position at the transfer station. He's passed all of his basic requirements, so I'll take the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. I'm so used to polling the board still.
Again,
Thank you very much.
Thank you, and if anybody's listening, the applications are online. And Erin, you're correct. It is weird to say heavy equipment laborer,
I
but
feel
that's
like
just,
there's
it's
more
just the way the
after.
position, that's just how it's
Just the
posted.
pause. I was just waiting for something.
I don't know.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Sometimes I'm
Okay.
asleep, but not that one.
Next, we have appointment of a cultural council member, Edward Ginn, or Ginn, I don't know which it is. So, is there someone here to speak on?
That's just you.
That's great, okay.
I'll tell you, the Cultural Council
excuse me.
wholeheartedly recommended him.
Yes, I saw that. He's been very highly recommended. He also has a lot of the skills and information and background that they would like. So I think it's a very good appointment, but I'll leave it to the board. Do you have any other further questions, comments? No?
Yeah, two.
Anybody in the audience? Okay, then I'll take a motion.
Go ahead.
I'll make a motion that we appoint Edward Ginn to the Millis Cultural Council.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded to appoint Edward Ginn to the Millis Cultural Council. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
I'm sure we did it.
Excuse me. Next, we have a request to mow and hay on town property at 377 Village Street. And I'm going to ask Mr. Labossiere?
Lobuser.
Lobuser, please.
Well, I'm seeking the board for permission for the Braun property to cut the hay off of it. I've been doing it probably for the last 10 years or so, and I was wondering if I could continue to do it with the approval of the town.
I certainly have no problem. In fact, I do know it's been done on a regular basis. And it is very typical because it allows us to maintain the property. At the same time, it gives you something
Yeah.
that's useful, and I think it's very very beneficial to the
And
town.
also, I do spread like composted manure on the fields, just if that's a problem.
Not if it's all natural.
No.
No, it is. I also do like a lot of the conservation fields in town as well. And I
Okay.
do the same thing, so.
Well, I certainly have no problem with
Okay.
moving forward on
And
this.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
just to touch base on something, the town does have a pretty standard license agreement
Yes.
for the use of agricultural property. So, if the board is agreeable to moving forward with this, I would simply ask that the board, as part of this, also vote to authorize the chair to sign a license agreement for agricultural property with Mr. Loverser. This has been reviewed and approved by town council already.
Thank you.
Right.
I don't wanna stop it. Also, I don't know what you'd call it, but the bigger field at the former Cassidy Farm on Island Road.
Yeah.
I also did that last year as well. And I had spoke to Mr. McKay. I was supposed to mow the town dump as well for kind of like use of the field. And, we didn't get to mowing it last year just because of the weather was so radical. But moving forward, that would be the plan, to continue if we could.
Is there anything special we need to authorize for that?
I'm not sure. I'd probably want to take a look at that, but, certainly I'd want to speak with the DPW
Sure.
director and just confirm that there's no issues there. But,
I
I
don't
would-
see a problem, but we need to
yeah,
at least
we could certainly,
verify everything.
if the
Alright.
board is agreeable, you could certainly approve this tonight, and we could look to just add another item on the 16th to, quickly approve it, as long as there's no issues with with
Okay.
that location by the director.
That location, we're probably not gonna be spreading compost on, just because it's such a big area and now we're just short on time, because we're getting to close to summer. But, yeah, the Braun property, I would definitely try to, because I've been doing it, spreading like manure on it every year for the past 10 years or so. I was just wondering if I could take it.
Okay.
Okay, I'll
See the issue
take,
with it.
any comments or questions?
No?
Go ahead.
No, so I'm gonna make a motion, just for the Braun property, but
Okay.
we'll double check on the other one
Yep.
and then come back to this.
Sure.
To approve it. So I move that we approve the request to mow and hay on the Old Braun property, 377 Village Street, and authorize the chair to sign the license agreement as well.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to allow permission for mowing on the Braun property at 377 Village Street and to mow and spread manure as long as it's natural on that property. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you,
We'll make sure this gets signed and you're off and running.
absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Okay, property, mow and hay. Okay, we have an acceptance of a gift for Millis Youth Baseball and Softball of granite benches. And I believe Michael Leach from Millis Youth Baseball Softball is here.
I like that you brought your baseball cap with you.
What's that? I just came from the field.
Okay.
I enjoyed your parade on Saturday.
That's
It was
great,
a lot of
wasn't it?
fun.
Yeah, thank you for the police and fire for helping out on that. They really have.
I got lots of pictures, and
Good.
it's just great to see
Should
everyone.
put it on Facebook there. It's a great little, like, small community thing. I love it.
It is.
So, Millis Baseball, I'm Mike Leach, President of Millis Baseball. Millis Baseball, Millis Softball, we did a lot of work, what we consider the playground field, which is over in the corner. And to open up, so back in the day, Millis Softball used to play over at Oak Grove. They've come over, which made little scheduling issues. And so we worked hard to put everybody in the same area, because we want all the kids in kind of the same area. We redid the playground field, and we received a donation of about, it's a $2,000 donation for these 2 beautiful granite benches to be put over there by stone curators, and I'm here in front of you requesting that gift so we can continue building up these fields around here for all the kids.
Well, thank you. Are there any other comments or questions
Thank you.
from the audience? Scott, please.
Scott Fusey, 411 Unit. I want to thank Millis Youth Baseball. The fields look great. The parade was great. It's been a couple of years. It's just, they really work hard out there, and I was out there looking yesterday in the Little League field and the grass, and just you guys really do a nice job, and it's really, you know, it's a lot of volunteerism, a lot of hard work, and we really appreciate it, and I thank you for your hard work and your crew's hard work, so thank you.
That means a lot. Thank you very much.
Thank
for
you,
that.
Scott.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, if there are no other comments, I'll take a motion from the board.
I move that we accept the gift of granite benches from Stone Curators for the Millis, or from Millis Youth Baseball and Softball.
Second.
It's moved and seconded to allow the acceptance of the gift from Stone Curators of Millis for the use of Millis Youth Baseball and Softball. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you so much.
So, thank you.
I was just
I
gonna
must
say, a
it
quick
was-
little shout out,
Yes.
the parade was this weekend,
Right.
right?
It was
Yeah.
on
And I could
Sunday,
hear the
yeah.
sirens, and I heard it went very well, so
It did,
It
that's
was
yeah.
great.
exciting.
They had sirens everywhere. The kids were running and screaming, which is, of course,
It's
always
great, that's what
great.
you want. And I'll say it one more time, you know, all I had to do was reach out to the Millis Fire, Millis Police, and they helped out, and,
Yeah,
you know, when it was time to organize, they came and found me and said, hey, this is what we're gonna do, and, you know, shout out to those guys too. They're
Well,
really
if you
awesome.
give me your email, I'll pass on the photos, and then you can
Yeah,
decide
that's
if you
great.
want to
I
use
will.
them for anything.
Thank you,
Okay,
very good.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next item, review and approval of regulatory agreement for Gateway Project, Mr. Koufopoulos. I hope I didn't blow that too bad.
Yeah, it's not here.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Haven't been here for quite a while. My name is Peter Koufopoulos. I'm the chairman of the Zoning Board of Appeal. The town is being asked to approve the regulatory and use agreement between the state of Massachusetts and the Chapter 40B project called the Gateway to Millis. Basically, this was negotiated between the state and the developer, and it defines all the financial requirements for meeting the requirements of Chapter 40B, and it sets down all the requirements for the affordable housing in terms of rents, limits of how much money people earn in terms of being eligible for it. Also, it covers all the what-ifs. For instance, if the developer decides to sell the property, what gets kicked in terms of what the town has the ability to have some say in that. So again, we're asking for you to acknowledge and approve the document. I also would say that I forwarded it to the town council. He looked at it, and I've not heard that there was any particular issues, that it's a common practice for the state.
All right,
Town
I see
council
the
has
comments.
approved it as
Yeah,
the
I-
form.
I see that we have in our packet that the council has approved it. So
You know more than I do then.
that's a first. I'll ask the board if you have any comments, or Mr. Kaczynski, anybody?
No.
No, does anyone in the audience have any comments? Yes, please.
Hi, my name is Dean Harris. I'm the housing consultant for the applicant. So if you had any questions, I'm here to answer those questions.
Very good.
Thank you.
Well, I certainly don't. I think it looks fine, and I did go through it for what it's worth. And I'll take a motion on it.
I move that we approve the regulatory agreement for the Gateway project.
Second.
So moved and
Yeah, there was
seconded
that pause.
to approve the regulatory agreement for the Gateway project. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
It's like I'm 12.
Okay. We're running a little ahead. Is it possible to?
Certainly, there's no prohibition of
No
moving forward.
prohibition on this
As
now?
long as the
Then
is ready.
I'm going to ask, we have a petition, presentation of the 2 citizen petition articles for the May 2nd annual town meeting warrant, and I'll ask Ms. Catherine McGinnis to please come up and present.
I thought it was 8:30.
Well, it's
It's
listed-
7:50 is what it's scheduled.
7:50 and we're running
We're just
ahead.
saying that it's okay.
But we're away.
If you're not prepared,
No. I've been prepared since February 27th.
I was just going to say we could defer it a little later. if
No,
you want,
let me
but
just
that's
make
up to
sure
you.
my pagination is correct. You know me, I don't talk unless it's written. 6, 28, 29, 52, okay. I think I got it.
I might leave, Kathy, after 52 pages.
No, I won't. Thank you. My name is Kathy McInnes, 78 Island Road in Millis. I am on the agenda, given 15 minutes by the Select Board Chair to discuss the citizens' petitions, which begins the 12-month process of enacting an elected 3-member Water and Sewer Commission. Thank you, Mr. Chair. We are grateful we were able to present the citizens' petitions before the Finance Committee. And once again, Chair Berube, thank you very much. During those discussions, 2 members commented that too bad there wasn't any informational meeting to discuss these petitions. We thought this was a great idea, and we marvel at what we can learn with open discussion and dialogue. We are elated that tomorrow, Tuesday, April 26th at 7 p.m., right here in this room 229, there will be held a televised public forum to hear residents' comments and concerns. Thank you to the Millis Media for coming in on short notice. The lineup for the forum has not been finalized. My colleague and member of the disbanded Enterprise Funds Advisory Committee, moderator-elect in 14 days, Brutus Cantareggi, will hold the gavel. Others associated with the petitions will also be there, schedules, of course, permitting. Everyone will be allowed to speak. I had a conversation today with the executive director of the Charles River Pollution Control District regarding a question raised by a resident today. Both the towns of Franklin and Medway are under their allowed space, Medway having recently undertaken infiltration camera proceedings that Millis has been using for years. So I just wanted to get that out in the public. There are reports dating as far back as April 18th, 2020, that recommended the Select Board completely revise the method used to calculate direct and indirect charges, many with financial savings to enterprise ratepayers. And what does that mean? Direct costs are those amounts that are spent to operate the water or sewer departments. Direct costs are DPW staff assigned to water and sewer work and related expenses. Indirect costs are those amounts that the Select Board charges water, sewer, and stormwater ratepayers that the Select Board says is needed to pay the staff in this building, non-DPW staff that are spending work hours on water and sewer matters. These charges are in the form of a percentage of that department's total budget, including expenses. The Select Board was asked by the Enterprise Funds Advisory Committee to request that the town hall staff, including that of the Office of the Select Board, keep a general record of what daily portion of their work was done for these funds, similar to what the DPW administrative staff does. The Select Board, right, you could just decline this suggestion, but it was a suggestion. Again, the April 2020 report 2 years ago recommended, quote, complete revision of methodology, quote. We think this should be included because the consultant stated 12% of indirect costs of all, quote, town hall, quote, accounts are misallocated. And I thank the Chair Berube for calling me out on misallocated versus misappropriated. This should be corrected now, not in 3 years, 5 years, or even 7 years, as a Select Board consultant, quote, allows in his most recent report. There are major concerns regarding the amounts charged to the Water and Sewer Commission ratepayers for snow and ice plowing, and we've heard suggestions to alleviate these charges right now and prepare them for consideration at the fall town meeting. We find it disheartening that employees have been told that layoffs, when the town ever does decide to correct these discrepancies. Yes, we heard about this scare tactic. Suffice it to say, it has never been mentioned by the petitioners. It is time right now to begin the process of investigating the possible enactment of an elected water or sewer commission. The 2,763 water ratepayers and 1,601 sewer ratepayers are owed this. Every dollar the water and sewer ratepayers save, perhaps it will be easier for them to financially support future endeavors of the Select Board. Just last week, I believe I heard the Economic Development Committee voted to allow the citizens' petitions to proceed. Mr. Kaczynski had recently stated that some towns' economic development was compromised with elected water and sewer commissions. We are grateful to the Economic Development Committee. I've heard the term streamlining used lately, and a water and sewer commission is streamlining at its best. Relieve from control of the Select Board the water and sewer statutory regulations, and it would streamline to allow the Select Board to do whatever it is you said you wanted to do when you were running for office. Please, members of the Select Board, do yourselves a favor and support the passage of these two petitions. Let's get everything out there in the open and let the voters decide at the ballot or at the polls next May 2023. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm going to now open it for discussion among the Select Board members first. So,
Do you want to go first?
Either way. First, I'll thank Kathy for the work she's done on the Enterprise Fund Advisory Committees and the other committees she served on. She's put a lot of good work into this and a lot of thought into it. So anyway, moving on to, I've had an opportunity to gather information from other towns, talk to town managers, DPW workers, et cetera. I didn't reach out to Jim McKay because I didn't feel it was appropriate to talk to him about who his potential bosses might be. So I stayed away from talking to Jim McKay on this one, but I did talk to a few other DPW directors in other towns. And nobody felt it was a good idea to be putting this in place in a town. The reasons were it adds bureaucracy, it adds another layer of government, which further complicates things in the town. For instance, if you have a project you want to do, if you have a project, you have to go before the planning board, the sewer commission, if we install one, and the select board. So it's the opposite of small government. It goes towards a more complicated government structure. But I do agree that she's brought up some good points that we have to look at. I think those can be done by the select board, though. Also, the other problem that was indicated was that a water and sewer commission can become a single issue board. If you get all developers on it and an elected board, you have no control over who's on it. I remember we had an elected, there's been towns and we had an elected accountant. There was no requirement you be an accountant. There's no requirement that you know the statute. So if the board's taken over by developers, it becomes a pro-developer board. They open up more roads for sewer. We get more development. It becomes an anti-development board. No more sewer lines are granted, no more extensions, and it stops all development in the town. And it's an important thought because the sewers are what control development in this town. It either allows it or it limits it. As we learned with putting it down a street where there are large open fields, it will open up those fields to housing. The select board looks at all of this when we grant sewer. We look at this as an economic development tool and a tool for town planning. And not just rampant development, but planned development, thoughtful development. So that would take this out of the select board's hand and put it into this other committee's hands that would be able to open streets for sewer and change development. The other piece is, that was brought up was there's a lot of fighting over budgets, petty things. I mean, this happened with the school committee years ago. I remember my first year on the finance committee, we got into a 3-week argument, 5 years ago, over $13,000, how it should be allocated on the town budget between the school and the town. I just don't ever want to go back to those days where we have elected boards who are fighting over trivial amounts of money. And that's what it will eventually become, because there are plans in place to address most of the points that Kathy and the petitioners brought up. As I said, she had some good points. I don't have a prepared speech, I have notes, so I skip around a bit. But she brought up some great points, and I think they all need to be addressed. We do need a comprehensive plan for sewer connections, but I think that really is something the select board is working on. Right now, we have a moratorium in place, but when that moratorium expires, end of July, beginning of July? End of July, thank you, gives us a bit more time. We have to have some plans in place to be able to address those things, or we have to extend the moratorium. I would like to, by the end of July, have a plan in place that makes the moratorium unneeded. Allocations corrections. Yeah, Kathy's right. The previous select boards, of which she served, and most of the people, a lot of these people have served, had a different way of allocating. It wasn't wrong, it was different. In 2021, I think it was 21, we changed FY '21, so that'd be the 2020 town meeting. We changed the way we allocated. We started a process with Paradigm, Community Paradigm. They went through and looked at all the time, like was suggested by the petitioner. They studied it, and we made changes. In FY '20, we were 25% out of balance, 25%. In FY '22, last year's budget, that was down to 12% out of balance. So we corrected about half the problem between 20 and 22. So in FY '21, we were $146,000 out. In '22, we were $81,000 out. This year, it should be in the 70 range, I believe, when I looked at it.
So we heard.
Yeah, and the consultant, Community Paradigm, put together a plan with options. There was a 3-year solution, a 5-year solution, a 7-year solution. The 3-year solution is the one that I favor personally. I don't know about the rest of the board, we haven't voted it, but mine's the 3-year, actually an accelerated 3-year, so call it 2. By FY '24, FY '25, which would be the June 2024 town meeting, we should be able to eliminate this deficit. We should be down to, according to the Community Paradigm report, $37,000 out next year, and then $18,000 out in FY '25, and I think we can find $18,000 on a $39 million, or whatever the budget is right now. Yeah, so that's not unachievable, and that takes me back to my first comment about the boards fighting over $13,000. And lastly, and this is an important consideration, this is a major change in how our town government runs. It's going to remove a very important tool from the hands of the select board and put it into what could quickly become a special interest board. Now, there is a bylaw, there is a bylaw. Article 5, Section 28, looked it up because I happen to have a copy of the bylaws saved on my work computer, home computer, tablets, everywhere. I look at them more than I ever thought I would. It's page 13 if you're following along at home. But it says that this committee, the select board, can appoint a three-person sewer and water commission. Committee, they don't call it a commission. That committee can recommend rates, hear appeals, and take any other task that this board charges them with. The key is this board has the ability to charge them with the tasks. It's not an open-ended appointment where they do everything sewer and water related. We can come up with what we'd like them to do. I'd love for them to hear appeals personally. I think it's a important topic, but it takes a long time, and the expertise needed is good to have. These suggestions and recommendations would then be ratified by the select board. So it doesn't take the select board out of the equation. It keeps us there in our role as managers of the town. This might be a middle ground that addresses the petitioner's concerns, but it avoids the other issues noted by other towns. And then if that solution doesn't work, we can revisit the petitioned articles. We can look at doing an elected one if we aren't satisfied with what we're getting out of the appointed committee, if we choose to go that route. But I think that, this is not this isn't having a conversation about sewer and rate waters as it was presented at the Finance Committee. Sewer and water rates and sewer and water policies. This is actually making legislation. This isn't starting a conversation. If this passes with 66% at town meeting, and passes with 50% plus one vote at the polls, this becomes law. And we haven't had discussions about this for such a huge change in the way our town government works. We got rid of these commissioners in the 70s, I believe it is. And no other town is bringing them back. Other towns are looking to move away from them that I spoke with. So we'd be reinstating something we had in the 70s that we got rid of early, and other towns haven't seen any reason to bring back and are trying to get rid of today. So I leave it out there that we do have options. There are important things we can address, and we as a select board, honestly, we've been remiss. We should have had a lot of this stuff done by now. I'm taking the blame for that one. It's things that need to have happened. And we have to start doing that. And I think that we will start doing that quickly and soon. And I think one of the things we have to consider is, do we have a committee that will assist us on the important stuff that's appointed, 3 people, 3-year terms, that can help with some of this stuff. But I think all those are options that we need to consider. So I am opposed to the petitioned articles. And the reason that we're taking a stand, that I believe we need to take a position on these articles, is because the other articles we talked about, Citizens United, when they petitioned that, plastic bags until that was picked up by the Board of Health, other items, opposition to, I think the Iraq War was one that came up, publishing budgets online. None of those were fundamental changes in how the way the town governs itself. This is, and who better to talk about that than the Finance Committee and the Select Board? So this is truly how do we govern, so I think that we have to take a position on it, and I'd urge us to take the position of recommending dismissal on these items.
Okay.
Please, second. Thank you, Craig.
Yeah.
I'll start by saying I agree with all of Craig's statements. Personally, I've been seeing a lot of work that this board has been doing, and as I predict, will continue to do. And actually, there were even comments made by one of the petitioners saying that Millis water is PFAS-free, lower than most in the state or the nation, and is the envy of our municipal neighbors. Additionally, stated there were some worker positions that were found to be funded improperly by water and sewer funds, which were corrected, and the select board worked hard to straighten this out. So even from the petitioners themselves, the select board has been working hard on these issues and will continue to do so. I too have heard feedback that this is not an ideal situation for towns, and that there's a lot of towns that have this configuration and experience problems with it. While we are working on these topics and able to handle this, I don't see why we'd want to introduce the potential conflict. I'm also, one of the things that Craig said that really sticks out to me is experience. You don't know what background people have, not only in terms of water and sewer, but in the petition, it states that the water sewer workers would work directly for that elected commission, and I'm definitely not comfortable with that. We also had the Charter Review Committee that took a couple years and went through the charter to review changes. This topic did not come up once. And that, to me, was the time to suggest changes. And last, looking at the citizen's petition, you only need 10 signatures to have a citizen's petition. This one had 13. It's very unclear as to the level of knowledge and outreach to all of the thousands of ratepayers. And for all of these reasons and Craig's, I am against this article and would vote for dismissal.
May I make one more comment, Mr. Chair?
Please, go right.
Since I don't work off a script, I work off notes, something I had written sideways on the page, didn't get included. A perfect example of this cooperation with the select board doing it is we were able to, and correct me on the amount, was it 2.8 million in the PFAS mitigation?
2.3.
2.3. I scribbled. Okay, so $2.3 million in PFAS mitigation that we've been able to get through ARPA. And I spent the late morning writing another letter, don't tell my boss at work, to the State House trying to get more funding out of the ARPA grants to pay for the PFAS mitigation. That was done by the select board. If this was a if this was a water commission doing it, they may or may not be doing it, but if the select board and the water commission are on different pages, that doesn't happen. So that's why I like, yeah, we've worked hard for the water, especially with the PFAS mitigation. And that's something the select board takes very seriously. So I wanted to make sure, and Aaron mentioned it, and I just wanted to amplify that we did get that grant through the work that the chair and the committee before I got on it and the current committee has done.
I'm going to make a few comments, and I'm going to ask if any of the other individuals here want to. I happen to concur with many of the things that both of my colleagues have stated. When I joined the Select Board 3 years ago, this came up as a new topic to me. It hadn't been a topic that had been discussed in prior Select Boards that I'm aware of. Maybe I'm just not aware at that level. But I've had an opportunity over 3 years to understand some of the issues that have been brought to our attention and to get much better acquainted. I attend the Charles River Pollution Control District meetings. I've been involved in a number of other sessions. And I can tell you that once this was brought to our attention, from the Select Board's perspective, we chose to get an outside consultant, I believe it's Paradigm, involved to help us understand better what the issues are, and might be in the future, and how we can deal with any corrections that make some sense for the long term for this town. They've done an excellent job. I think Mr. Schultz summarized that effort very succinctly. But I also think that this board has done made a great deal of effort to address the issues. We've seen how we have addressed them thus far. We've lowered the differences in the way the rates are charged. And we've also found that there are many differences in the way other towns approach this. So it's not to say what was done was wrong or incorrect. We're doing it trying to address some citizens' requests that we think are valid. That doesn't mean they were necessarily wrong. And we've talked with other towns and town councils about that. I personally have talked with them. And in fact, they do it quite differently. Many of them do it the way we were doing it and are continuing to do so. So it's not necessarily unique to this town. What I do find is that this board has been very proactive in trying to address these needs. We have, in fact, made an effort to bring in extra revenue where possible through grants. I personally have written any number of letters to our state representatives and congressional representatives with respect to PFAS. We've already seen the results with respect to the 2.3 or 2.4 million in ARPA funds, but we also have received a small amount from the state thus far, but we also know that our two representatives at this time, Messrs. Dooley and Linsky, have put forth another request into their budgeting process to try to get some money for us. And we hope to hear from that fairly soon. And in fact, just this last week, and as of today, we're putting in yet a request through our congressman, Representative Congressman Auchincloss. I apologize, I get his name wrong every time. And he, in fact, is seeking federal funds on an accelerated basis for us to apply to this town. I think it's important to understand that these funds could have been used elsewhere. It was the decision of this board to use these funds to help offset the costs associated with PFAS mitigation. And that's just one thing that we have been doing. We've been working with the DPW and the director there to understand infiltration and inflow in our sewers so that we get a better rate with respect to how we're discharging into Charles River Pollution Control District. We've been working with others to try to make sure that we reduce any overage wherever possible, and to make sure that the charges that we're charging are reasonable and within line for what we need and the ongoing growth of this community. So this board has done a great deal, and I've watched it over the 3 years I've been here and participated with something that hadn't risen up as an issue prior to my getting involved, and something I've been working with from the time I got here. So I'm, in many respects, quite pleased to see what we are accomplishing, and feel very strongly that we are moving very much in the right direction and paying attention to what the residents are asking us to do, which is ensure that the monies that are being spent as appropriately as possible on these projects. So given that, and given the comments that were made with respect to the concerns that have been voiced by a number of community leaders that we have reviewed and discussed with, their recommendation in most cases is something that we should not pursue this, and in fact, in several cases saying it's been a hindrance to the way in which their towns operate, and to try to make sure you don't get involved in that. At any rate, I take all of that into consideration, and like my colleagues, I do not believe that this is an appropriate thing to move forward with, nor would it be in the best interests of the town in the long run. And that's a difficult decision to make, but that's my view. Now, having said that, I'm going to offer.
Actually, Mr. Chairman, I think the board has done an excellent job covering all the points. I don't have anything to add. I think
Okay.
we've covered it.
I'd like to make a motion that we recommend dismissal of this article, that we are in favor of dismissal. We don't make
Let me
recommendations.
make one comment. This
Yeah.
was for a discussion within the board at this time only. I apologize, but I was trying to make that clear up front.
Oh, if there's people in the audience that want to
But
discuss, though, then
I will-
I wouldn't have a problem.
I was just going to say,
Yeah,
if
I
I
can
had
hold my
said that
motion.
up front,
Yeah.
but I will offer to the board, if you would like that. I am open to.
Yeah, I think it makes sense to do
I
that.
have no problem. I just was, please, come and make your comments, please. That's okay. I'm trying to be sensitive to the board,
Okay.
to everybody.
Ellen
else.
Rosenfeld, 12 Evergreen Terrace, thanks. I'll make it quick. I got 3 quick points. Craig, I want to thank you for what you said, because this is the first time I'm kind of hearing that you're recognizing some failures, which, that's good. One thing you said is that there hasn't been a lot of discussion about that. Well, there hasn't been a lot of discussion because there's been no public comment. Now we're a week out, and now you're letting me speak, thank you, and you let Kathy speak, that's nice, that's good. Number 2, I've been asking a lot of questions also, but I've been asking a different question, because all I'm kind of hearing is that there is this fear, this seems to be this fear on the part of the board, that this elected commission is some rogue contradictory to this board commission. But I've been asking some questions, and it's my understanding, and I know this maybe not going to happen this year, but maybe in the future. I'd like you to ask the question, you are still in control. This board still makes policy that covers practically everything in this town. All of the land that the sewer runs through is controlled by you. You make the final decision from this board. They don't jump over you and make law. I mean, they come before you at the end of the day. So I'm not so sure why it's a us against them scenario. So that's my number 2. And my number 3, whether you call it discrepancies, irregularities, I don't know, call it whatever you want. But there's been a few things. Now, Kathy called attention to that, and it is being fixed. Appreciative. And maybe in 1, 2, 3 years, it'll be 100%. That's a great thing. She should be applauded for that. And number 2, as Craig mentioned, if in fact she has also brought light to the lack of preparedness that we find ourselves in, that's also a good thing. So, however we end this, right, we're in a better place than before she proposed this article. That's all I have to say. Thanks for hearing me.
Thank you very much. And please, Scott, go ahead.
I'll be brief. First of all, thank you to the Select Board, the Water and Sewer Commissions. I sat through a lot of hearings of many boards, and you guys have done a tremendous job. But I want to thank Kathy McGinnis, too, because I think it got contentious at times, but I think she brought up a lot of good points. And if it doesn't happen this year, I think it's something down the road. If we go that route, they can work with the Select Board, joint effort, if it goes that route down the road. But I think a lot of good points were brought up, and it's probably more of a learning curve for everybody, but I think you guys, as well as Kathy, deserve a lot of applause. It's a lot of work to run water and sewer. And the town is growing, the town is changing, and it's not easy. And so, thank you to you guys for the hard work you do, and certainly to Kathy for her hard work and the citizens petition. However it happens, let's work together in town as a team, whether it's through the FinCom or it's through you guys or anybody. Work together as a team, and but I thank everybody involved in it, so thank you.
Thank you, Scott.
May I, Mr.
I
Chairman?
will also,
Yeah. Just one comment on what Ellen said. There is a point, I do differ on, thank you for thanking me so much, first of all, but I'm not used to it. Somebody, it's nice. But I don't hear it enough at work and I don't hear it at home. So thank you. But the other piece was, the way this is written, this would be an independent board, so it would have, it would exclude the select board from some of those activities that you thought would be included in. The appointed board that we have the ability to do, that would have to come back to us for all the ratifications. That's the difference between the appointed board and this. That's why I'm in favor of the appointed board. Please get some good advisors, get stuff off our plate, give us the ability to learn and delegate and get people working on it. Whereas this would say, okay, that commission, I'm just reading it quickly here, exclusive charge of control of the installation and maintenance of sewer. You know, it gives them the control that's seated in the select board now. So while I think that, you know, Kathy got the ball rolling, and I'm still missing a page, it looks like, on the one I have online. But anyway, she got the ball rolling on this, that's good. I think that it's made me think more about the appointed versus the elected. And if that's a direction to go, I personally, and I can't speak for the board, we're not gonna deliberate on it tonight, we're not gonna debate it tonight, that's not the item. But I think that makes a ton of sense. Yeah.
well, I happen to agree with Mr. Schultz, that it's something that we've looked at, and I'm going to say something. Kathy brought something to our attention, Ms. McGinnis, that was very important, and we have tried to address it over the last at least 3 years that I've been on the board. And that's important for the community, but I also think it's important for the community to understand that when something like this is brought up, it is incumbent upon the board to work with the individuals and deal with it, and we have been doing that. And hopefully, we're seeing the fruits of that in what's happened in the way we're managing the rates at this time. Okay, well, having said all that, I know that there's been discussion about whether this board ought to take a stand, and so I'm going to offer that, is there a motion on how we should approach this, or if we want to support this particular set of articles?
You do have a motion on the table.
Well, I started it, then I said I'll wait for
Yeah,
it.
Okay.
So I'm gonna start it again. But if I was good on it, yeah, if I was sounded articulate, read it back. But no, I'll make a motion that we as a board are opposed, because we don't recommend or
Right.
approval, but that we are opposed to the two petitioned articles. And the reason we're taking, and that's the motion. Yes.
Second.
So moved and seconded that this board is opposed to these articles as written, I think
Right,
is the
as
best
written,
way
yeah.
to say it.
And the reason that I think this is different than the other ones is, none of the select board has not historically taken a position on petitioned articles. But no other petitioned article has ever sought to fundamentally change the way the town governs. So that's why I think this one rises to a level that is important for us to take a position on.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay. Excuse me.
And just one comment.
Please, Mr. Schultz.
And this has nothing to do with the article. This is just on the online package that's sent out. My town warrant skips from page 17 to page 19, and I don't bring a paper copy with me.
Oh, I've got.
Yeah.
Would you like to?
No, I'm
I
good.
can
No,
share.
I'm good. It was just, I was just looking for the beginning of that one, and it's on page 18.
Okay, I saw that, I brought,
Yeah,
it was sent in the
I'm good.
mail.
We're through what we need to be through.
Okay. Okay, we're now entering the open session agenda items. And the first one is review, discuss, and assign annual town meeting warrant articles. As you know, individual select board members try to be responsible in case questions come up that we feel we need to answer. Mostly these are handled by the finance committee, but there are times when the select board feels that it should be involved. Now, I'm going to say something a little out of order, and we'll see what happens here, but I think personally, with his expertise in our budget, that a certain Mr. Schultz should handle the budget items if he's willing to do so,
So 4 through 7?
4 through
Yeah,
7.
that's fine.
Is that
Isn't it
okay
3
with you?
through 7?
Well, wages
Oh, I'm
and
sorry,
expenses.
I'm sorry, 3, yeah.
3 through 7.
Oh,
Yeah.
operating, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
you're right, that's 3. So that's all
Trying
gonna
to skip
be.
the big one, okay,
Ha, no.
yeah.
Okay. So now I'll go back and start from the beginning. Unpaid bills and additional wages and expenses are pretty standard, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't
Mr.
care.
Chairman, just to
Yes.
make a note, I did send out the
Yes.
updated motion for Article 2.
right.
If the board is fine with that, I will forward that to the Finance Committee tomorrow.
Do we need to vote on this? I don't.
Well, I'd just like
think-
a
I
vote to
concur with
support-
this.
Support the motion as written.
Yeah.
This was put together, finalized today by the Finance Director and I.
Okay.
Right. Basic, just
Yeah.
for the
Finance Director
audience,
did- the
this
Finance Director
basically
did the lion's
balances.
share of work on it, so, but we did go over it today and make sure that it covers all the main items and puts us back in balance for the rest of the year.
The important thing is Article 2 that puts the budget in balance for the various line items, so that's what we're
Okay.
looking at here. Okay, is
Sorry, do you
there?
need a motion, did you say?
I don't
Or a
know.
motion for that?
I'll take a motion to
you.
recommend Article 2 as written.
Second.
So moving second to recommend the motion on Article 2 is written. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's the
You're
only amended
Okay,
motion I
right.
have
Yeah.
this evening.
Okay, so how do we want
confident
to
we
do
should
that?
review
Unpaid
too.
bills and additional wages?
I can take
You
that,
want
that's
that?
fine.
Okay. This is, yeah. Consent agenda, amendment, this is standard amendments to Personnel Plan, Board of Health Appointing Authority.
Sorry,
Again,
Erin, you're taking the first 2?
First 2.
Thank you.
right,
Um,
I can take it if you
You
want.
want
It's
to
up-
take 8?
You want
Yeah,
to take 8?
You can take
No, I'll
8.
take
Well,
8.
because I was gonna ask about taking 9 through 11, because I sit on that.
That's fine,
committee.
absolutely. Craig, do you have a problem with that?
No, not at all.
Okay.
So Pete's 8.
Okay, this is Aaron. The recreation, never mind. The recertification process for the remaining 17/8 of fiscal year '23. Craig, do you want to handle that? Let me just verify exactly what that is on Article 12. I don't.
Oh, that's just the recertification?
I
Yeah,
think
I'm
it
fine.
is.
I can do
Funding
that.
is part of the
Yeah.
5-year
It's not a-
recertification.
That's all it
process.
is, yeah. I
Yeah,
just
it's the
wanted to make
5-year?
sure.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's the
no problem.
5-year. You want to do that?
I'm good with that, yeah.
Okay. Capital items, I can take that, and PFAS, I can take that if you want. Design, construction, and trees, and computer lease for schools, and tell you what, I don't mind any of those 13 through 18, unless some of you want to take any of those.
That's fine with me. Is that good for you?
I'll let you know if I have a problem. So far, I'm-
All right.
I mean, if you want, if you
If
want
you
to
know,
take.
if you assign anything to me, I might have a problem, but the more you're taking, I'm fine. Okay.
General bylaw and powers and duties of the town administrator. Who wants to potentially speak to that?
I wouldn't mind taking 19 and 20, since I served on the Charter Review Committee.
I think that's a
Okay.
good idea. Zoning bylaws amendment to associate planning board member, associate planning board member. This was that change in wording to add the
Yeah.
one. Aaron, you want to do that?
Yeah, that's fine. So 20 and 21 and 22?
21 and 22. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Zoning bylaw amendment.
I mean, I might as well take both zoning things.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you can take both on those, okay.
If you really care, you can absolutely
I have
one
no
of them.
interest. I was trying to think, maybe.
I was just
I
keeping my
was
head
gonna s-
down on that one.
I was going to suggest that we have the
Looking
town
away.
administrator take those.
Yeah.
Well, if I get stuck,
And
then
that-
he will.
I would defer to him, to be very frank. He's-
Well, myself and the Finance Director will be there for the entire meeting.
Of course you will.
Of course, but my point is, I think he's the best one, anyone. Okay, acceptance of consolidation of townwide, okay, this is where the schools in the
Yep.
town Do one of you want to take that, or I'll?
Do you want it, or
I'm fine either way with it.
You've
do
been
you
a-
want it? Yeah, I'm fine to do it if you want.
I mean, you've been serving on the, you've been
Yes.
monitoring
Yeah,
schools,
go
so
ahead.
why don't you take
All
that,
right,
Erin?
I'll take that.
Through 23, yeah, okay.
Okay, the three next ones, 24, 25, and 26, are pretty standard,
Yeah.
and
I can take the,
that's up to you.
I doubt there'll be any comments
I
on
don't
those
think,
from
Yeah.
us.
I don't think there's anything there.
Actually,
It's a-
right now, Articles 25 and 26 are set to be
Dismissed.
dismissed.
Right,
Article 24 has an appropriation of just around $10,000.
okay,
Yeah.
I'll take 23 and 24 then.
okay. Fine, I've got you down for all of them, but we know
That's fine,
those
yeah.
two.
I give you 21 through 24, is that right, Erin?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yep. And
Who's gonna take the
do
petition?
any of us want to?
I'll take them
distinct-
if we have to.
You will take
Yeah.
them if you, if we
I think
have
that's
to.
good.
I think that sounds reasonable.
That was easy.
I'll send you a
Okay.
list tomorrow, so everyone's on the same page.
Personally, I don't think there's too much here. To be honest, and Craig, thank you, I think if anything comes up for discussion, it'll be in the budget. That's
Yeah.
going to be, I think, a
I
primary.
need to get a copy of it that's clean. Carol?
Yes.
Can I get a,
Who's doing 19 and 20? I just didn't hear.
Oh,
I have those.
19 and 20 is Craig. I'm going to make a comment here for what it's worth. Jody Garzone has done an excellent job of putting together a synopsis of a number of issues on the budget, Craig.
Okay.
It might be worth, assuming that the chair of that committee is willing to let her give you some comments, if
I'm gonna
that's
call it
okay.
either way.
So,
I don't think he'll mind.
so, I've been stealing her expertise along with that of Carol recently to make sure I get a good understanding, and it's been very good.
You're good with
Okay,
Just as a heads up,
Yes.
in the FinCom flyer that went out, there is one of the zoning articles. I think the formatting, it just got kind of crushed together. I don't know if you saw that, so the numbers are very funny. So instead of it saying 150, it says like 15 with a 0 underneath. Our town clerk noticed that today, so we'll provide handouts with the
Yeah,
correct.
let me look at doing a handout
It's
just
just
with
gonna be
those.
the
You wanna show
formatting.
me
It
what
literally
that is?
squished all the Excel
so that I
rows,
can
so it looks all
show the
funky.
audience. Oh, yes.
So just if
Unfortunately,
anyone's
that got
listening, we're gonna have
squished,
handouts
so
with the
that'd be
corrected
confusing to folks.
information. It's just got
page?
For what it's worth,
Not
it's
my
page
article.
20 in the handout that was sent to everyone, and actually 21 has the
Yeah.
same
If
problem.
anyone should ask you about it, we
I-
can send them the
Formatting
proper.
problem.
Yeah, it's just a formatting issue,
Yeah. I can
but
post
unfortunately, it
too.
does make it difficult to understand, so we will be clarifying that.
So 19 through 21, it looks like.
I don't know, did
Aaron, you
19
ready
have
now?
any problems? Yeah, 19 had a problem also. So 19, 20, and 21, there are columns that have a 0 at
Did
the
I?
bottom. It should have been 200 or
Right, I
150 or
think they just
something
got
like
kind of
that.
squeezed together is all, so we'll.
Right, so it's a printing error.
Yeah.
It's
we'll
not
hand them out.
anything that anybody could have foreseen.
No.
Mr. Berube?
Mr. Chair. Pete Berube, 8 Rose Road, and Chairman of the Finance Committee. I would ask that you consider not doing a handout and that we speak to an administrative change. I don't know that the cost for an administrative that the correction to administrative change warrants the expenditure. If it can be posted online and spoken to by the FinCom, that would be my suggestion.
that's fine,
I
too.
think if you
Yeah.
did a
I
handout,
have no problem
those
with that
handouts will be in the
myself.
trash before people hit the parking lot on the way out.
Right,
That's fine too, whatever,
Yes, please,
That's
what he
fine.
said.
what he said, whatever you recommend.
Mr. Chair, Lisa Harden, Town Clerk. This is a zoning thing that we have to send to the Attorney General, and we have to tell him what's available to people at the meeting, and it's better if it's clear what they're voting on instead of something that could be construed as being confusing. And printing out, 200 copies of something is not that expensive. So I just ask that you think about it, please.
I think that's a very good point. Her point is, we have to be able to, she has to be able to testify to the state
People have the correct
that it was
information.
correct, that the information was clear, and that people weren't confused by what they were seeing, so.
I mean, if it's printing like 4 pages,
Yeah.
200 copies, it's a ream of paper, we could do that. and, granted, I certainly agree with the chair of the finance committee that a lot of them won't be read very
Right.
well, just because it looks like a duplicate.
Yep.
But, for the purposes of sending it into the state and verifying that there was a written document that clearly displayed what was being voted upon would be helpful in that process of sending that to the
I
state.
think then, request,
I just want to say, I'm pretty sure I can get it on one page, back to back. It should be,
Okay.
Yeah, we could do
That's
front and
fine.
back, we
That's
can just do
fine.
it
Should be
in-house.
easy.
if you
Okay,
could do
yeah, we
that,
can do it
that's
in-house,
great.
we don't have to send it out.
I
Okay.
guess,
Then
And I
whatever.
agree with the chair of FinCom that
Whatever-
oftentimes we make copies and they end up in the
let
trash,
me put it
however.
this way, I guess I'm comfortable with whatever the town clerk and the town administrator come up with. If they feel they need to print it, let them do so. I don't think it's worth a major discussion on that.
Okay.
Okay. Review approval of sign permit flag football. Ms.
You don't have that in your packet because I just received the actual final copy today. This is just lawn signs. This is the flag football, is looking to put up registration information. Lawn signs, 2x2 lawn signs, just at a few locations throughout town, at the intersection of Plain and Village, near the Oak Grove Farm fields, at Towles Corners, and behind Town Hall right here at the baseball fields. And it's just to let people know that if they sign up early, sign the kids up early, they get a bit of a discount. And it was recommended by Millis Flag Football, and it would be from 4/26 through 6/7.
Will this be posted so everybody sees it?
Yes, yep. So if,
I move that we
you're okay with that.
approve the sign permit for flag football running from 4/26 to 6/7.
Thanks.
Second.
So moved and seconded to approve the permit for flag football running from 4/24, was it? to
4/26.
4/26 to
4/26, right, to
6/7?
6/7.
6/7.
So just a few
All in
weeks, 6
favor?
weeks.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carries unanimously. Okay.
Updates.
Committee liaison updates. So,
I don't think I
have
have
either of
any.
you, I haven't got one myself.
We had a permanent building committee meeting. We talked predominantly about the community center, senior center. Just a lot of discussion, no decisions, no major issues made. The forums are coming up, the dates have been published. They'll be continued to be published. There's 2 in the afternoon and 2 in the evening to accommodate seniors and non-seniors, working, people who are working and people who aren't working. So there's 2 during the day and 2 during the evening. And these will be design forums like we did for the Clyde Brown School, where we come up with ideas and suggestions. And the goal is for that group to come back to the select board with a recommended project.
I'm going to make one comment. I have seen the flyer, if you
Yeah.
will, that went out that describes everything in pictures and so on.
Yeah.
I thought it was well done, although it's a little self-serving.
Yeah.
I have to be careful, but to be very truthful, I was very impressed with the way it was done.
And we haven't put it out there yet, but in the next couple of days, I'm gonna put it out on Facebook and everywhere else to try to drum up some business here and drum up some attendance, I guess, at the forums. And then we'll continually re-advertise it as the different dates come up to try to get people.
The only thing I can emphasize on this is the opportunity for everyone in the town to get involved. They can see it, they can comment on it, they can ask questions. This is another one of these opportunities. Express your views, because if we move forward, it's going to be costly, but it's a center that's going to be set up for you. So you should take this opportunity to give your comments and inputs so that everybody gets a good understanding of what you think is best for this community. Okay. On that note, unless there's anything else, please, Scott, go right ahead. No, that's
I
okay.
just want to thank you guys, now with town meeting coming up, the FinCom, the town administrator, Pete Ruby from the Finance Committee, for all the hard work. This is like a marathon, and you're at the finish line Monday night, so it should not go unnoticed, the hard work you do week after week, night after night, and the town manager day after day. I'm sure he's going to want a vacation after town meeting, but thank you to everybody, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Scott.
thank you.
We do appreciate it. Okay, on that note, I'm going to say that we're going to be adjourning to the executive session to conduct strategies in preparation for negotiations with, with union personnel, and to discuss strategy with respect to litigation. And the strategy for union personnel will be SEIU and the AFSCME. So on that, what we're going to do is adjourn to that, and then when we come back, we will close this session. But for right now, I'll take a motion to adjourn to executive session.
I move we adjourn to executive session.
Second.
So moved and seconded to adjourn to executive session. I'll poll the board. Ms. Underhill?
Yes.
Mr. Schultz?
Yes.
Mr. Jermaine, yes. And we will resume our meeting and close it at the end of executive session. Thank you all very much, and have a good evening. Appreciate your attendance.